Hello and welcome back to another episode. Now, today's probably going to be by far my biggest episode because we are finally fitting the V6 3.8 litre Commodore motor into Mr. L300. Now, as you can tell, he's a different colour, so let me run through a quick update of what's happened to that before we get into this. Alrighties, so there you go. As you can see, it's had a colour change. It is now resprayed in Ford Blueprint. I did do that myself, only because I got a couple of quotes from body shops and stuff like that, and they said, yeah, 10, 15 grand, somewhere in there. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. So I gave it a good crack. It's come up all right. The 2008 dash is in there, and it's currently getting covered in suede here and there. I 3D printed a 8-inch touch surround because I wanted the radio space down the bottom free for a UHF. I've 3D printed some blocks to mount the 76 series Land Cruiser mirrors on. I played around with some spray chrome. It's all starting to tie in together, but yeah, now it's down to this, the fun part. You're probably wondering, why did I go Series 1 Buick where I could have went Ecotec or whatever. I knew the bloke, we went for a drive, a few mangs, thing held up fine. It come with the motor, gearbox, wiring harness, computer. It had everything, and it was a great price. So, and we know the reliability of these. Like, this thing's done, I think, 280,000 Ks and still mangs like no tomorrow. But what I am going to do is fly one of my good mates down from Sydney, Luke, who owns Hillbilly Motorsport. If you haven't heard of Hillbilly Motorsport, I'll post a link up here or somewhere. He runs a 1100 horsepower F100, which he pretty much built the motor himself. So it's good to have someone to help me rebuild this motor with the kind of knowledge he has. It's only going to be a standard rebuild. As I mentioned, this L300 is just going to be built to travel around Australia, so I'm not up for massive horsepower because I'll be chewing fuel like no tomorrow. And I think these run at 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that, litres per 100. So, and it's also got the 107 litre long range fuel tank in there, so things should sort of all tie in together. So what I've got here, obviously V6 motor, the gearbox is Turbo 700 gearbox. Now, when I bought the kit, well, bits and pieces off different people to get this thing as a kit, if you don't know much about the automatic gearboxes like I don't, there's a lot in there, a lot inside the gearbox to actually put the output shaft in. All of that has to come out so that can go in, because I think there's like a clip on the end of the basket down here where the output shaft connects to. So obviously I had to get this rebuilt, and while Eric, thanks mate, while he was rebuilding this, he put a shift kit in there for me, so hopefully that should be a lot better. Here we have my standard transfer case. This come out of that car, but when I bought this car, it come with another transfer case that has the 46% reduction gears. When I was trying to put all of that together, I noticed a few missing parts, so I'm going to have to go back through that once all this is done, and yeah, put that in once all this is finished and ready to be mounted in. Because what has to happen from here, put all this together, get it in there, tack the engine mounts off, call my engineer, and say, hey mate, is everything all good? Are we all on the same page? And then from there, take the motor back out, rebuild this, finish the transfer case, weld all the engine mounts off, and then we can put it back in, rewire the whole car, and yeah, kick her in the guts and go do some sick mangs. So let's run through the parts. As I mentioned, the output shaft is already in. Paul from Parkridge Automotive and Martin, thanks mate for creating the Facebook four-wheel drive L300 four-wheel drive page. It wouldn't have happened without all of you guys, so massive shout out. I bought this adapter plate from Paul and the output shaft. They don't make these anymore. I rang Mark's four-wheel drive adapters who used to make these. You still can get the output shaft because they use those output shafts in other applications, but they don't make the adapter plate. So if you can somehow fab one of these up, you might be in luck with getting this setup happening in your car if that's the road you want to take. Also, Pat and Gina, wow, massive shout out to them. Pat has a wealth of knowledge like no tomorrow. I contacted Pat and I said, hey, I want the V6 L300 kit, and he said, oh yeah, two-wheel drive. And I said, no mate, four-wheel drive. He's like, no, we don't make them anymore because of Mark's not making these. So it was lucky. I said to him, I've already got all of that. I need just the mounting kit really. So what I bought off him was, this is the gearbox transfer case mount. As the position of the transfer case moves, probably 120 mil, because the gearbox is a bit longer. And then all of these things, as you can see here, these are weld-in mounts. So yes, I have to jump in and cut the existing mounts out to get these ones in. I'll show you how they all go together shortly. As well, there's some other things. The starter motor that come off this, it had a dome at the back, so that meant that I could not fit that one in and around this engine mount. So yeah, I had to buy a new one, and then obviously the bolts for the other one don't fit this, so I have to find those bolts somewhere. And what you also need, one side, the air compressor side, runs the standard engine mount, and then the other side, which is with all this stuff, it runs a Holden Rodeo engine mount. So there's a bit going on there. Also the gearbox mount, it's a bit of a different one to what come off. That sits at the back. There's also a plate that I'm missing which sits on top. So once I get all of this in, I'll have to measure that up and then cut one out. I think that's about all really. Maybe I should start to show you how to get all of these engine mounts together, then we can put it on the block. I also have to take the torque converter off because, as I mentioned, I didn't know much about auto boxes. On the torque converter, there's two notches out of that, and then on the input shaft, there's two tabs as well, and you need to line those notches up with the tabs so they engage the oil pump, I believe. If you just try and slam that on there anywhere, you'll damage those tabs. Oil won't be pumping, and you'll be straight up for a brand new rebuild straight away without even going anywhere. So that's another thing that has to happen. Yeah, I suppose that. Other than that, yeah, let's get cracking. Alright, so here we are, the bits and pieces. What I'll do, I'll stand up and get all of this together, show you how it all goes. So obviously, as I mentioned before, this part is the gearbox transfer case mount, so we can put that one aside. This one here is for the air compressor, the aircon compressor. So this part, that mounts on there. I'll tighten all these up off camera so I don't bore you too much. And then what I will do, as you can see here in the old mount, there's only 2 holes where the old existing Commodore mount went into, but I will definitely drill them out and put two more bolts, so there's 4 holding that all together. And then here, this is the Rodeo mount. There's a tab there, so that slide in there, and then from there on as well. Left those bolts in another spot. They slide up. So yes, there's, as I said, there's a bit involved in this one side, so tighten this up a little bit to show you what's going on. There's a bit going on, eh? So I'll tighten them up shortly. Then the other side just straightforward. This mount straight onto there. Alright, and then that goes on to the old or the existing steel mount that's on the block already. So I will jump over there and I will show you what I mean. Okay, here we are. As I said, the oil filter side. This one here, that just mounts up to the existing that was already on there. This one's the easy one. So as I mentioned, there's a bit more involved on this side. We will I'm pretty sure that's up the wrong way. Where would I be without me SP tools? This thing's a bloody ripper. Alright, so from here the aircon unit can go on. Alright, so there we have it. The mounts are on. What I have to try and do now is take this bottom plate or bracket or whatever you want to call it off, so then I can get to the bolts that are holding this torque converter on. Emptied oil out of that, slide that into the gearbox, and then connect all of that up. So let's get to it. Alright, so the torque converter's off. I'll try and slide this onto the gearbox, try and slide the gearbox back onto there. Oh man, who came up with this silly idea? SP Tools once again. Alright, so what I'm trying to find is just those two tabs, and it looks like they're just north-south, hopefully. So those notches, north-south. Sounds good. It wasn't, I thought there was like a couple of stages of clicks or something like that. Did watch a couple of YouTube videos. Let's check that again. North, south, north, south. Ah, there we go. Alright, so I think that's on. Bloody better be. Okay, so the gearbox is on, and what I was told from Eric that rebuilt the box, you should never have any form of force when you're putting these bolts in, because if you do, then the torque converter is installed incorrectly. It should just made up, like, don't need to go get the old big old ugga dugga to slam it on there. So that's on there. I might not I probably didn't need to put the torque converter in while I was doing this process, but because I'm not going to tighten the bolts up at the back while it just goes in and gets checked, and then I have to pull it back out. So what I'll do now is work out a way how I'm going to tilt the cab, because before, when I tilted the cab, I had the crane on there to lift that out and put some blocks, and so I'll have to figure out a different way. I'll be back. Oh, don't ask how I done it. Oh man. Anyways, that's the kind of tilt I'm looking for. I've got the mounts on the front, but there's so much to work out with this tilt design, you know, once the motor's actually in there, and fingers crossed it does happen. But now what I will do is take that mount off, as I mentioned just before, put this one in. There's the two bolts on top, and then those existing bolts that are in there you can use for the bottom, so that'll go in there. Wow. Oh, I need to go to the gym tomorrow. Look at that. This is the whole reason why I wanted to extend the shed and put a hoist in, so I didn't have to work on the ground. But the council said okay. Surveyors and engineers said, yeah mate, another 8 grand. No thanks. Alright, so that, what I put on before is on the wrong way. And I think it's just about home. So I'll take this off, turn it around. Yeah. So there's a bolt down the front where the the front diff mounts onto a cross member. That's touching the sump. This side looks fine. Alright, bit of amateur hour going on here. There's lots happening, I'll show you. So at the moment, at the front down here, the sump's hitting that bolt that the diff bolts onto that cross member there. So I'm thinking it's a modified sump. Honestly, I should have just put this in there, eh? That's the 4G 6.3 turbo. Would have made my life a whole lot easier, but we're getting there. Alright, let's try this again. I had a bit of a breather, went in, read a little bit more, had a look at a couple more photos, come back out. The sump's currently off. I do have a spare Mang as well, which has got another sump and all of that, so that's pretty good that I've got a spare. Yes, this one has to have the corner cut out of it and the filler cap relocated, or the drain plug relocated. So let's try this again. I do believe that could be just about it. So where the torsion bar runs down, there's a bit of steel where it connects into at the bottom. Halfway on that is where this engine mount goes, and then you've got where the diff is, there's one bolt for the engine mount. The face of the end of the diff lines up with that second hole. So I might lift it up a tiny bit, bring that over, lay a dirty big tack on the tops. So if it's not, then I can just cut them off pretty easy, and then drop it down, because I think the motor's not on the right level. So once that's tacked off, this will tilt back over where I can do the same, lay a big tackle on the top. But there we are. What a day that was. As you can see, the cab's back down, the motor's in, but I've run into a few issues, and as I said throughout the video, there's been no sort of instructions, no videos or nothing on this type of conversion, so that's the exact reason why I put this video out there to show everyone kind of what goes on. So if anyone has done this conversion, what I'm about to talk about, if you can give me some feedback, if you ran into the same issue or what you've done about it. So here we got the transfer case, and currently it's sitting on the handbrake. I don't know if I have to cut that off, or because I strongly believe that these engine mounts are in the right spot. As I said, they're only tacked off, ready for the engineer. So because the handbrake is sitting, well, the transfer case sitting up on top of the handbrake, this is obviously not touching, which it needs to. Plus I'm missing that plate which connects the gearbox to the adapter and to the actual mount there. Inside the cab, things are looking very nice in here. You can see why I opted for the cab tilt, because there's not too much room. Like, yeah, once I get exhausts or extractors and all of that on there, trying to change plugs and all of that. Still got the radiator to go at the front. I have to work out what to do with this power steering reservoir, because at the moment I can't put the seat down because this side is too high. Then the four-wheel drive selector, and I don't know whether I'm going push button gear selector or I'm just going to stick with the Commodore one. If I go to Commodore one, I have to rework this area here to fit that in. Yeah, it's getting there. Lots and lots and lots of work to do. I've still got a custom alloy tray to make with a custom pull-out rear drawer kitchen, custom size canopy to put my top 10 on, to put my 270-degree awning on. The headboard's going to house a 100-litre water tank, a shower, a roof rack up here for more storage, like absolute mountain of work. But I do thank you and appreciate you watching this far into it. If you like what you've seen, it'd be a massive help if you subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned, I've got a mountain of work. These videos will be uploaded on my channel as well. Yeah. Why do we get ourselves into this stuff, eh? But I'm loving every step and learning what I have already. And as I said, if anyone has done this conversion and rectified problems, or come across or had, or even haven't had these problems, comment below. Even let me know what you're thinking of this conversion as well, because I'm pretty impressed. It's one of a kind, and that's exactly what I wanted to build. So other than that, thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one, and take care.